Our scripture this week is the old story of Mary and Martha. Now, if you were to go and look for artwork of Mary and Martha online, the only thing you'd find is kitchen or food or dining table references. That is so grasped the imagination of the Western world, the artistic world, the preaching world for so long, that there's not even an acknowledgement that there could be something else going on in this story. Of course, Martha has to be in the kitchen because that's where women were, right? And Mary has to be the lazy one outside because, she might have it right, but she also was not very helpful. This is how I was raised. I remember a friend years and years ago said she'd been to a conference where there's a whole bunch of women with a pin on them that said, "I'm a Martha." Like somehow they had to reclaim this the person who did all the busy work, who did all the background work, who did all the housework, and make that good again. It has nothing to do with housework. The story is not telling women where they should be when Jesus is present. It is not insulting Martha for doing the wrong thing. It is not pitting Mary and Martha against each other. So let's back up a little bit first and go to the linguistics of it. The word used, and I believe it's pronounced diakonia, but I'm not sure, and my Greek's not good enough. It's a word that is interpreted for men as ministry, for women as domestic service. So that's our first problem, is English translators have insisted on diminishing women's role as ministers. They'll give it to men, but they won't give it to women. Mary and Martha were part of a ministry, maybe team, maybe community, but they were part of ministry. Their service was as ministers. Martha invited Jesus to her house. There's only a few other references in the entirety of the Gospels that invite people to their house, and it's always the owners. So right away we know they were wealthy. We knew they could get around. We knew that there was no man dominant in their world. We know that there was plenty of opportunity for them to be with the movers and shakers because they had a method, a matter of finance about them. And contrary to popular assumption, Jesus was not a poor child who didn't have any access to resources. Jesus was traveled in the comfortable society. And we know that through the Feast of Cana, but that's another sermon another time. Jesus was known. These women of privilege, doesn't mean they were rich, but they owned their own home. Martha owned her own home. They were able to host Jesus. Martha was most likely a house church leader, a place where they could gather, a place where Jesus came often, or his followers came often to rest and relax and to have people gathered around in her house. Eventually, the house church, as we understand it, that would develop is on the road to being the public churches that we now understand in modern times. But back in Martha's day, back in Jesus' day, it was places where people gathered because there was no official public buildings for that to happen. Mary, on the other hand, was one of the ones who traveled around teaching. We knew, going back into the reading about the 70, setting out the 70, that there were women involved. Mary might have been one of them. Women who were on the go, who were on the move, teaching as they went, showing people the message of Jesus. So once we take away the cultural assumptions, the gendered dismissal of what these women did, we have two examples of ministry done by women in the early church. Martha probably would have been considered a deacon, which at the time was someone who took care of the money, who took care of a lot of the worship practices, who took care of the community around. Jesus tells her in all of this, you're getting too caught up in the busyness. And this is not a defense of Mary. This is not a condemnation of Martha. This is a begging, asking to please find the quiet. Mary was not right because she was the one that sat at Jesus' feet. She wasn't right simply because She was the one who was paying close attention. He said Mary is on the better path. Not that she's right, but on the better path. That she sits and she finds that center core and she listens and she prays and she doesn't get caught up in things. Martha, probably the oldest sister, was the one who was always making sure everything was okay for everyone. And Jesus calmed her and said, don't get caught up. That is not what you've been asked to do. It is so easy as people of faith, particularly as women of faith, to get caught up in the busy work. I've been in many churches where the men just simply abdicate. They just don't step up. So women are the ones caught making sure the bulletin is there, making sure the microphones are available, making sure the communion is available, making sure the brass is polished, making sure the place is clean. And there are places that men do, but the majority of the times it's women doing all of these jobs. And it's very, very easy to get caught up in busyness because busyness fills our time. It makes us feel like we're doing something. It makes us feel like we matter. And especially in a patriarchal society where we are in, where men are lauded for doing the least, it's hard as a woman to not only stand against that patriarchy, stand against that misogyny, but also to find where her place of value is. We've been taught as women that it is in that busy work. Jesus had a different way of life, had a different way of looking at things. He never saw women as lesser. He always saw them as equal. His own relationship with Mary Magdalene was one that where he respected her wisdom and he respected her gifts and he respected that she took care of him. Mary of Bethany and Martha were the same. These are people who contributed to Jesus' well-being, and he never talked down to them. And he's not talking down to them in this scripture. He's just simply telling Martha, please find calm. All of this running around is just upsetting you. It's making you anxious. Our presence here is making you anxious and think that you need to pull more people in to make things work. It works. It's already good enough. You can take some time now just to visit, just to be with us, just to sit and listen and talk, chat, enjoy. All the rest of it, it'll happen or it won't. That's the message Jesus is trying to give us through Martha. Find the calm. Find the opportunity to just lay things down. And I know it's hard. I go into a church every Sunday. It's get the mic ready, make sure I have a bulletin, who's with music, what do I have to remember, what are the messages, what are the announcements. It's all very busy. But there's a reason why when you come to worship, the minister just takes a moment to find that calm. It's not simply about switching gears. Sometimes it's about reminding us what matters, that Jesus is present in the moment. All the other stuff, it'll take care of itself, or it won't, and it'll all be okay in the end. What is important is sitting with Jesus, sitting with the message. Then we can help from there, and we'll help in our different ways. But we cannot get too caught up in the busy, because the busy drowns out the meaning. And when all we do is focus on the busy, we're missing something so rich and wonderful. We're missing Jesus' presence with us. So sit. Don't worry if things aren't done. Don't worry if every time you turn your head you see something else you wish you had finished before the guests came, before the company arrived. The grand scheme of things, they probably don't even notice. That's only something you would notice. It doesn't matter. And if you're one of these people who criticizes those for not having everything done perfectly for arrival, stop. You're not helping. You're making it worse. Jesus asked Martha to come join him and Mary and all of the others who were in that house, to just be. And in a faith that is about action, sometimes being is one of the hardest things we're asked to do. But that's what Jesus asks us. From that being, we get nourished so we can go about the doing again. There will always be more to do. And Mary probably did a whole lot of activity, but while she was in Jesus' presence, she just calmed it all down. And Jesus asked Martha that she do the same. So it doesn't matter if you're Martha or Mary. It doesn't matter if you see the things or ignore the things. Being with Jesus, being in the moment, is what we're asked to do. Just to sit and to be and to feed ourselves spiritually, emotionally, mentally, soulfully, so that we're able then to carry out ministry again when it's time to stand up and pick up and get back to living. But while Jesus is in our presence, while we're in Jesus' presence, it is time to just sit with the teachings and with God and with love. That's all we're asked to do.